Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Avini Vibes. Excited to be here, and we are grateful that you're here. Tonight is February, is it the 27th already? Dear, oh my goodness. February's almost over. Hard to believe. It'll be March before you know it. And I'm your host, Christine Rolando. My co-host is off screen tonight, but God bless her. She's still there in the background, always helping out. Carol Witt. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Dr. Nakita and Chip. I always want to call him Dr. Chip, but he's Chip. Chip Littlejohn is with us in the house as well. You know, we're very blessed to have the most amazing products, the most amazing leadership and company that are really helping to change people's lives, to save people's lives. And just reminder for all of us that we don't make any medical claims, we don't diagnose, we don't treat. But what we do is we educate and we share. We share information, share knowledge, share experiences. And that's what it's all about. We're all here to learn. And I had the blessing to be with someone today in their 80s, and she said, I want to learn more. So it was kind of cool, never too old to learn. The nice thing about Avini is that it attracts smart people. And what Chip always says, the smartest and the brightest. So thank you for being the smartest and the brightest and being here with us tonight. Well, today's topic is something you probably know nothing about or have never experienced it. And hopefully you don't have to live in that state. I had a pretty stressful day today, but in a good way. But tonight's topic is stress. And how does stress affect you? What do you do with it when you have it? And how can it be harmful? But also, stress can sometimes be good, right? You have those butterflies in your stomach or whatever that might be when you're going to do something. So it's a good way. But long time stress or stress that's hanging around too long, or if you're always in that situation of being stressed, is not a great thing. So what I'd like to do is ask Dr. Nakita to come on with us. We're always blessed to have her with us. Hey, how are you? Would you?
Hello, how are you? How's everyone? Can everybody see me?
I'm going to turn it over to you for a few minutes, okay?
Okay, no problem. Everyone sees
Appreciate it.
me?
Yes.
Hello. All right, the first question I always say is what is stress? And I'm an educator at heart. And so when we say what is stress, we want to explain it that it's the body's natural response to pressure. It's how we react to challenges or demands that we go through. And it can be triggered by new or unexpected events like a tough day at work or an argument, right? But it's also caused by a feeling of lack of control, whether that's over your time or your finances or even your health, right? So what she was saying is that not all stress is bad, and small amounts stress can motivate us. It can make us move, right? Getting ready for weddings and all those things. Those are good stress, right? But long-term stress, when our bodies stay in that fight or flight mode, that's the stress that can harm our health over time. Now that there's two types, and that's like acute stress, and that's like the short-term stress, where we're being like stuck in the traffic or preparing for a presentation, like what I was doing before the call, right? Or chronic stress, like long-term, which is like ongoing stress, like thinking about financial problems or relationship problems. Those are like long-term stresses, right? And the long-term stress is the ones that does the most damage, right? So the problem with the long-term stress is that it causes something called oxidative damage. And that's when you're stressed for too long, your body produces these free radicals because that stress process stimulates our hypothalamus and it causes cortisol levels to increase and all those things. Big words, but what it's basically doing is making our molecules unstable and is damaging our cells. And that's called oxidative stress, right? Now, that chronic stress can be caused from that stress can be caused from chronic stress or poor diet, like eating a lot of processed foods or fried foods, smoking, and as well as toxins from the environment. I always like to give a little story so people can understand what free radicals mean and how they damage our cells. And so I wanted to just say, like, it's real quick. Imagine your body is like a busy city with every cell working like a building that keeps everything running smoothly. Now, think of free radicals as tiny sparks flying all over the city. Just like sparks from a fire, they can scorch or damage buildings. So free radicals can harm your healthy cells. So these sparks are created naturally with your body when they process like foods or when you're exposed to stress or pollutants or toxins. And in small amounts, your body is very good at handling them. But when you have too many sparks and they flying around, especially from long stresses, they can damage the walls of your cells. And this damage is really what's oxidative stress is called. And what that does is that weakens your body's defenses and it can lead to problems like aging, fatigue, and even chronic diseases, right? And then there's something called antioxidants. We hear that word a lot in our lives, right? And that's like the city's firefighters. And they come in and they put out those dangerous sparks, and then that's before it can harm you, right? And then we have our beautiful thing called Detoxolite. It's like one of those super absorbent towels. That's what our Detoxolite is like. And it acts like a molecular sieve, and it traps and removes the things that trigger the free radical production before it can harm you. Now, the good news is that stress and oxidative damage can be managed in healthy ways. And we're going to ask Chip to see if he can share some of those pathways with us. Hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you. Chip, she just talked about which products are the most beneficial relating to this. How do we combat that? And if you don't
Uh,
mind sharing how each of the products can help us with, with proper dosage also. That's a question that always comes up.
yeah, thank you so much, for your educator approach to everything, Dr. Nakita. We can tell that you prepare for each of these, and it really does add a lot to our Thursday evenings. And if you look right above Dr. Nakita's head, you see the words AVINI. And Avini is a lifetime of discoveries by a biochemist who searches not just his own mind, but he reads everything that comes out. And he turns it into a product line with the intention to help us while we help us. Not risking something to help us, not a wash, but something that actually helps us to help us. And when Dr. Nakita was developing her example of the sparks, in the city, maybe near the forest fire, but it's also in a flood zone, and the sewer's plugged, and I turn on the TV to see what they're doing about it, and it looks like an impending asteroid strike. Flip to another channel, and an invading army's coming from the ocean, and they've surrounded us, and they're coming from the mountains too. I mean, that's kind of the way people's lives are. They go out in traffic, that's crazy. They get to work, that's crazy. They leave, they're back in traffic, and then they go home, and everybody at home just went through that also. And so, interestingly enough, the way that Avini products are going to help you is to give you efficiency in dealing with everything, so that things that were beyond your capacity, beyond your control, beyond the ability of your organs and your metabolic processes, because now everything's more efficient, they are reachable. You can do it. I was listening to Neil and also listened to Hannah right before the call started. And Hannah said exactly what I heard Neil say. You can imagine the effort that's going in by all of the people at Avini's home staff to prepare for the big event next weekend. And someone said, well, Neil, don't you get overwhelmed? And he said exactly what Hannah Stringer just said. I never get overwhelmed. And you think, okay, well, how's that possible? He said, I just recognize the situation. I know it's important, and I just keep moving ahead, one step at a time. I know it's really important that I keep moving ahead. So I'm not overwhelmed. I'm doing, like she said, I'm doing everything I can, and that's going to be enough. And so let's go into the organ that deals with this the most. I mean, obviously, everything that's keeping us alive is important, but the ones that respond in the presence of a stressful situation are the adrenal glands that sit on top of the kidneys. And one of the things they do is they give us a squirt of adrenaline. Well, when you get a squirt of adrenaline, it's really fun to hear Rik talk about all the different biochemical things that happen within a couple of thousandths of a second when a squirt of adrenaline is dropped into your body. You know, your heart rate goes up, your muscles tighten, your vision gets sharper, your mind gets sharper, the blood gets sent away from your digestive organs out into your muscles to prepare for a fight. I mean, all those things happen like instantly. But guess what happens if the stress becomes chronic, like she said, and it doesn't go away? Now you're stuck in that fight or flight. And then it can't make enough. It can't squirt enough. You know, you're at max so long that your max begins to diminish. When you get a hold of Avini products, Cell Defender, going to be removing some of the pollutants that are the stress. So anytime you get better with Avini, the main thing that's allowing you to do that is that some of the things that were hurting you are leaving you. It's just that simple. That's always the explanation. Something that was hurting you is now leaving you. And you can use these products like it says on the bottles. They're designed to work like that on a person who's healthy and doing good. If you wish, you can increase the frequency and get a bigger effect in less time. Is that an easy way to talk about how much to take and about dosing? Because you have a lot of freedom. You can use a lot if you want. I wanted to just real quickly tell a story that came from Robin's testimony Zoom this week that really highlighted this beautifully, I thought. And I did hear from the woman the next day that went through this. She was in traffic, looked in the mirror, big vehicle was coming, it wasn't going to be able to stop. Hit her hard, knocked her into the vehicle in front of her. It's years later, like 15 years later. She has no memory of what happened. And it starts coming back to her. She's been in extreme misery. Here comes Avini. And all of a sudden, her function starts coming back and the memory starts coming back. And this is a place where you can, use your biologic. I like that term. I made it up maybe. I asked somebody, I said, surely somebody has that website. And somebody looked it up, said, nobody has it. So what do we use here? Biologic. We stop and think. And I just thought, okay, here she is. She gets scared the heck out of her seeing it in the mirror. Then it happens. And when she went back and her mind started coming back to her, her memory started coming back, she realized that she got out of her car, checked on the guy that hit her, went and checked on the person that was in front of her, went back to her vehicle, called her husband, made sure the police were coming, and that her car was done. She didn't remember any of this. And I thought, how is that possible? And I thought, okay, what happens when you go into stress? You either attack it or you move away from it, right? The old adage that you do when you start a martial arts class: recognize a potentially dangerous situation, avoid if possible, right? That's get the heck out of there. Defend if necessary. That's fight or flight. Her mind got a stress blast of adrenaline, and it decided to do both. It wiped her memory clean, but her mom instinct kicked in, and she had to make sure everybody was okay. Both happened at the same time. And it hit so hard that it didn't return for 15 years. They actually diagnosed it as an adrenal blast, but she said no one had ever explained to her what that could mean and how could that be possible. And it just so happened during the time of deterioration, remember, less blood going to your intestines because it's being tried to be just diverted other places, for example. all of a sudden she gets autoimmune dysfunction. Why? Because if the guts aren't working right, stuff gets out of the intestines before it's ready to, and your immune system starts a fight with it. Now you've got right down the road to autoimmune. It all comes back. We have a different topic every night, but the answer is always the same. It's right above, several heads in here, the word AVINI. Approach things by solving the root problem. Go to the bottom line, go to the common denominator. If you were solving a math problem, you moved everything to one side of the equation. That's the answer. That's the kind of power that we tap into here. So no one of us is as smart as all of us, but even the best and brightest that among us that become our medical professionals are not as smart as the things that happen naturally with a properly supported human system. That's the power we tap into in Avini. And that's the main message that I wanted to bring, Christine. I hope that helps everybody understand. Doesn't matter what's right or wrong. We're pretty much going to do the same thing. Fun to know about it, fun to think about it, fun to use the biologic. But if you don't know anything and you just apply the products, but you're serious about it, the reason we talk like this is to get you to be serious, to realize that you do have something that can do all these things. If you don't know, the things are still going to happen, and then you'll come and you'll run into somebody like me, and I've got that question going in my mind all the time. How can that be? How could that possibly happen to that lady that 15 years later she gets hold of Avini and her memory comes back, her autoimmune cleans up, and her body quits hurting? Well, how can it be? All of a sudden it came back within her control. We are able to take control of the uncontrollable, solve the unsolvable problem. That's what we're about. That's why it's worth being here with us.
Chip, can you, someone put in the chat, can you discuss the mushrooms a little bit? Can you talk about the mushrooms?
So very interesting because, of course, what are the adrenals? They're endocrine glands, right? What's one of the main benefits of using the Immunity mushroom package? Adrenal support. I mean, there's a lot of different benefits from all the different polysaccharides in there, but one of them is adrenal support. There are a lot more people in Avini than you would realize. I would say more people than you would think on this call with us right now who were despondent. The situation was so bad. It seemed to be before they got a hold of Avini. And all of a sudden they looked at the same thing and they landed sunny side up. They saw the bright side instead of the dark. I mean, it's just that quick. You're looking at the same thing, but all of a sudden you think, oh, I can handle that instead of I can't. And that's one of the main things as far as the topic of stress and the immunity mushrooms. It's going to support your immune system. And that's another example of bringing things that used to be able to get you, and now they can't. It's like, like you decide, like the affliction decided to attack King Kong, and then it decided to move along to a weaker ape after it found out that King Kong was too tough. And you guys become the King Kong of Avini. I don't know. I hope you like that stuff. That's the way my brain works.
We love it.
You guys all look like King Kong to me.
That's awesome.
Immune-wise, adrenal-wise, you have all your capacities. You have more than you did before. Attributes of a more Kongier you.
You're getting some happy faces, Chip. I see them going up the sky and thumbs up. So that's awesome. And we have a newbie with us today. Georgie's with us. She's brand new. And we talked today. So I'm glad that she joined us. And she actually just gave you a thumbs up. So that's pretty good, right?
Hi.
Hi, Georgie.
I'll just say hi.
Say hi. Tell our listeners where you're from and who you heard do a presentation, because when you first saw it.
Oh, I'm in Middletown, New York, and the presentation was a little bit outside of Middletown. And I had a friend who had been telling me about it, and it all just worked out. And I enjoyed it very much. I especially enjoyed the person who was explaining how how the zeolite actually works, because I was a chemistry teacher for a long time in a college. I was a tutor, and I needed that information to help me understand how something from a volcano could help our bodies. And that had to all do with the plus and minus charges of the good stuff and the bad stuff. But I needed that, and it was great.
So we love our teachers, our science teachers, and that's where we have all gone to get fed. Um, if you have the personality that most of us do, you love you love understanding these things, and that's one reason we love to go to our national summit, because you would swear you would get college credits when you walk out of there, correct? You guys,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
meet together, it's 2 days of but our biochemist teaches in such a way, he'll use the Greek and Latin, but he'll also bring it down to where everybody can understand it. Like
Yes.
the sparks flying and the sewer system plugged up example,
Yep.
so that everybody can understand why that would work. So, first of all, grateful to you for being a teacher. I need to tell you, Georgie, there is a difference between a network marketer and a teacher. And that difference is the network marketer invites their own class. So you can see the wonderful class that we have here. And they are, first of all, they're hand selected just as you have been. But then after that, they're self-selected to attend. Highly motivated, self-selected students that attend these gatherings. What a wonderful class to teach. What a wonderful class to teach.
Thank you, Chip.
Absolutely.
Okay, Gary, go ahead. I see Gary's got his hand up. Please, we want to hear from you.
Yeah. Um, I just wanted to give a shout out to Alan Way. Last week, his testimonial was just the way he presented it. It just made so much sense, and I was able to share it, I think, with at least in 3 different settings this past week. And so, again, thanks to you, Alan. That was wonderful.
Very welcome and very worthy.
How many thousands of people are likely to benefit from what he said last week? I know it resonated and it traveled, and I believe that it's going to be included in conference. At least I know it was the very first thing suggested to welcome people back from one of the sessions was Alan Way's testimony from last week. Pretty
I am
awesome.
humbled.
Right
Thank
from the
you.
Vibes. The Vibes group is gaining horsepower. SEAL Team 7, Vibes group, all that stuff.
So who else has
It's a
something to share? Anyone else want to share? Stephanie Cook's testimony under the immunity. Oh, they're asking a question in here. So again, I'm trying to be Carol because Carol can't be with us. So trying to read the chats also. But anyone else, please, we'd like to hear
Can
from you.
I ask
Kathy?
a question?
Dr. Nakita's hand.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Chip, what are the 7 mushrooms that are in the Z immunity?
They are the ones we kind of feature are agaricus. So agaricus blazei-morel, and the parents come from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and a strawberry field in California. We breed them to get the highest amount of the beneficial polysaccharides. And then there are 2 of the cordyceps, Cordyceps sinensis and Cordyceps militaris. They were originally discovered by yak herders, and the yak herders saw, in the Himalayas, they saw the yaks eating them, and then the yak herders used them and found that they gave tremendous performance advantages, and they wound up being, actually, a lot of these wind up being athletic enhancement. And so there is lion's mane, but it's in another one of our products. So there's actually 8 mushrooms in the group. And so there's reishi as well, Ganoderma, the 2 cordyceps, Tribulus terrestris. Hopefully that was pretty close to 8 of them. There's 7 and 8 counting the, but it actually is listed, and they're on the package, on the supplement, all of the, and there's also some of the Detoxlite. And also there is a really nice introduction to immunity with Rik speaking in the avinihealthtraining.com. So whenever I get asked that, or when I'm speaking on it, I tend to focus on the cordyceps and the agaricus. The others are also of great power. They all make their own antibiotics. Did you know that?
No.
Cordyceps makes an antibiotic called cordycepsin. How do they live growing in rotting places? You know, they come up, they're the only healthy thing in there. They have to protect themselves. And then they also fight with each other for space. We grow them in competition with each other so that they make the most of the beneficial polysaccharides. You may know more about mushrooms than you think if you know something about aloe. Another great source for some of these polysaccharides is aloe. We use mushrooms.
Aloe?
Okay.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Hannah, go ahead.
And I need to learn to find out where to put your hand up because I can't find it anywhere down there. But I do need some help, okay, to understand what's happening right now. I feel like I have a shortness in my breath, not breath. I have a shortness, a tightness in my chest. And I had the collarbone 12 weeks ago. I was hit by a car as a pedestrian. And today I went to my first big luncheon, Thriving. And it was very emotional for me before I went because I can't believe that I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm where I'm at in my life, that I'm moving forward, and I go and everybody just say, oh my God, you're back. You look wonderful. And yes, I do look wonderful on the outside, but on the inside, and I took my cane just to make sure that people stayed away from me or didn't go back into me. But I came home and it was an amazing day. But at the same time, I don't want to call it stress. But I know that we're coming up to the new moon, and I'm a woo-woo girl too, that I just feel like my body is shifting in every way, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And it's coming out in my chest, which my lungs are my weak point. And I just want to be able to understand this, and maybe for other people to understand it. I upped my Cell Defender. I definitely am doing the Avini Plus Relief. Definitely the mushrooms, because in all of this also I had to buy a new computer. So everybody knows what that's like. And I'm also upping the Hydration Plus because I feel that I need to have more water, or that the Plus Hydration needs to hydrate me. But I want to know my body and understand it to the full degree. And I welcome any input that you all have.
Dr. Nakita or Dr. Karen, you want to comment? Either of you?
Me?
Kathy, go ahead. Kathy's a note.
I think if you could find a physical therapist or occupational therapist that does cranial sacral therapy, they could probably help you out.
I just started physical therapy.
All right, but
and that's also the new thing in my regimen, that I'm using my body. So
yeah, but not just that. It's called cranial sacral therapy.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
By Upledger or John Barnes, whoever does that, and I'll get that emotional stuff that from the accident out, and you'll feel better.
Yeah, the trauma is horrible.
Yeah. Yes.
After Ryan's, my son's motorcycle accident and Craig's, I sent them over to Connie's, and Connie, our local gal, she's a physical therapist, massage therapist and cranial sacral all the time. Amazing. Someone has their hand up, another comment. Dr. Nakita, and then I don't see your name. I just see iPhone 864. You had your hand up, so feel free to unmute and you can go right after Dr. Nakita. Go ahead.
I was going to ask how much of the mushrooms are you taking?
Well, as of today, I feel I'm only doing one in the morning, one in the midday, and one at night. But I think right now I'm going to be doubling it because
Oh.
I have to tell you, in the darkness of the nursing home for rehab for 13 days, while my body was healing, I am just so empowered and grateful that I had every product that we have, because I understood it was just as much mental. I understood that I could be lying there in the bed and I knew that my body was working. And if you have the dispenser or the belief, which is 80% of everything, I just let my body do the healing.
Yes, I agree. I was going to suggest you to double the mushrooms because not only is it helping with the stress, but the Lionheart supports the brain health and the cognitive function, which helps like it kind of almost have this soothing effects with hormones, right? In the stress. And then the mushrooms have a lot of lowering of the stress hormone. So it helps lower cortisol levels. So, but the problem is you're having such different levels of stress peaks in your life right now. So your body is trying to regulate it, and having more of the mushroom in your system, maybe taking it 4 times a day because you're going up and down all throughout the day. Maybe that might help a little bit because of the nerve repair, with the mushrooms, as well as, like I said, the calming of the stress effects. It would help. Yes.
And I mean, the neuro, I mean, I just with the Avini Plus, the more I get to know the Avini Plus, each of the roll-on as well as the spray. I am so gifted that I had all of this in me because of my arthritis. I was healthy, but everything was preventative. And so when I went into this, and as everybody knows, because I did that, I just blurred everything on January 18th from my rehab. I just sat there and I had all my products and I just was it's what has kept me going. It's kept me alive and thriving.
Absolutely. Yeah. The purpose.
Yeah.
Dr. Carrie, you have a comment.
Well, Hannah, I applaud you for bringing in the Avini products. I watched your journey, and it was one of the reasons I signed on with Avini. So, but what I wanted to mention is that when your lungs is your center of gravity, that's grief. And so it's probably long-standing grief. So while craniosacral will help you with releasing some of the emotions, if you can find a practitioner that practices emotion code, that practitioner can help you get out the emotions. And then also homeopathy is wonderful for things like that. So if you and I want to talk offline, I'm happy to have a conversation with you.
And I believe I heard you did the talk with Carol and another doctor. And I believe from your accent, you're from Rosemont, Pennsylvania.
No, not at all. Actually, I'm a meld of a lot because my dad was in the military. So you don't even try.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure that I picked up an accent along the way.
No, but I thought I listened to you and I thought, oh, when you mentioned something, but I would. And so I'll get your information from Carol.
So the good news is Dr. Karen is going to be with us on March 27th as a Avini Vibes guest. So you're going to get to hear where she's from and more about her journey as a doctor and her personal journey. And then on March 20th, we're going to have Doug Dickey. So I want to let you know that because we're going to be closing a little early tonight, but I do want to go back to someone else. I apologize. The screen just moved. So I want to go back to you. You had your hand up a moment. You disappeared. This whole screen just shifted.
Richard has his hand up and Gary has
Oh,
his
there
hand
you are. So 864, you've had your hand up and had unmuted. Did you want to make a comment or give a testimonial?
I would like to ask a question. My name is Claudine, and I am here to support Dr. Nakita. I just started taking the Avini. I think it's the Cell Defender for about 3 weeks now. I'm just wondering, is there anything that you may suggest for someone who had to go into menopause?
Hey, Dr. Nakita, Dr. Chip, Karen, would you like to answer that question?
Well,
We
that's
have a
fine.
lot of history with that, of course. And two of the main things are some of the very first products that we had to work with, and it would be Cell Defender and Zimmunity. Zimmunity is really wonderful for, that's a lot of endocrine and hormonal support, and you should notice a wonderful difference in a short time with those, and use the other things as well. I have one quick jungle remedy for Hannah, and something that you probably have right there in the room with you. Move a light chair over by the couch, get your cane and take a hold of the end that's usually on the floor and smack the couch like you're trying to knock all the dust and all the coins out of it. Just smack it a couple of times. I'm not kidding. I just think that, get a little strike back there. It's all right. All right.
All right. Claudine, I want to just share with you that Dr. Nakita will get you this. We have a lot of testimonials and a lot in our back office, or what's called Avini Health training. Dr. Nakita can help you with that, and one-on-one, you two can work together. But there are major testimonials, and even as Chip just recommended, we have I'll call them minor and master classes on some of these things. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to be with Rik for an hour and a half, Rik Deitsch. It was amazing with 11 doctors on a call, and it was so, intense, so intense. And one of the things we want to share is that we do have those short versions, 5 minutes, but you also can have them for 2 hours on master classes on any product. And Dr. Nakita can show you how to look at the testimonials per category. Okay, so on your own time, if you'd like, you can spend there as well. Jen, you had a comment? Jen from Pennsylvania?
I am from Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say hi to everybody first and foremost. And I wanted to tell a little story that is very emotional to me. I have severe depression and anxiety. And along with a lot of other stuff going on. But I started seeing a therapist. The doctor told me I needed to see a therapist and a psychiatrist and whatnot, whatever. And I'm like, fine, whatever, I'll do it. Well, my psychiatrist wanted to put me on some kind of pill that I don't even know about. And I said, I'm not taking any pills. I'm on enough with seizure, epilepsy, and sugar, all the good things. And she goes, well, this will help you in your moods. And I said, but I'm already taking something for that. And they said, okay, what is it? And so I had it in my little backpack on the back of my chair that, like, if I go long distances anymore because of my knees, they're wanting to do knee surgery on me. I can't. And they recommended surgery, but I told them after basketball. So I whipped out the Zimmunity, And this was months ago. Let me tell everybody, this immunity is no joke. None, zip, zilch. It helps even with severe depression and anxiety like I have. And I'll tell you what, that's immunity. Like, before I even started it, I was going around my brother and that and saying, if you don't leave me alone, and this is how bad I got, I'm just going to end my life. And because that's what depression and anxiety does to people. People don't realize it, that it's a real thing. And I flat out, my brother looked at me and goes, no, you're not. And he went into my bedroom and he got my immunity out. And he goes, you take these and quit talking like a fool. You always got to have somebody real with you. Because if you don't have somebody real with you, well, there's no point. But I'll tell you what, because of this immunity, I'm still sitting here today. Because of Avini, I have had so many wonderful experiences with all these products. The Cell Defender, it's helped me with my sugar. The Cell Defender and the Nano Silver has helped me with everything. I can't live a day without the plus relief. Without the plus relief, I promise you, I just hit 50 and some of you are like, oh, that's young. But I go to physical therapy twice a week. And if I don't take my plus relief with me, I'm no good. I hurt. And so when Chip and all of you say this stuff is for real, let me tell you, this stuff is for real. In fact, my brother, who is a person that, like, he'll believe or he won't. And he knows that this stuff helps me tremendously.
Jen,
And so,
Jen, that's
yeah.
amazing. That's so powerful what you just said and so real, like you said. But I want you to know that you need to come with us every Thursday, okay? Because we got you back.
Okay.
All right? You just be
I
here
know
every
you do,
Thursday.
girlfriend.
We
I'll
got you
be
back.
here next Thursday.
All right? You just
You
keep
know I
coming,
love you.
because you know the things that you just shared is going to save somebody else's life too. So thank you, right? Everybody, right? Thank you for sharing that. God bless
You're
you.
welcome. And it's hard for me to come right out in front of people that I know, that I have met, that I love with all my heart, and come forward and say that I have a depression problem. I have an anxiety problem. But I do know this much. My God is bigger than my fear. And I hold dear to that every day of my life. I say 6, 7 times a day, my God is bigger than my fear. And Avini is better than the junk. No offense to the doctors in here, but is much better than a lot of the junk that the doctors try and shove in your mouth.
Well, you'll get to know these two doctors pretty well because that's why they're part of this team. So I want you to know that. But we're going to have you back
Okay,
on.
well, I
Jen.
didn't want to offend anybody.
No, not at all, not at all. Chip, we're gonna have to close for time, so I'm gonna ask Chip to do the wrap up, Jen, that was beautiful. Everyone, thank you for being here tonight. Just a couple things I want to share before Chip wraps us up. Remember, tomorrow night's the last night of the month. There'll be no Avini Vibes next week, okay, due to conference. So we won't be here. I just invited her, and now we're not going to be here. So the following week. And Chip, if you don't mind, would you do a little recap for us, please?
Well, thank you everyone for being interested in what we're doing and for participating in the call. Dr. Nakita for studying ahead. I always really appreciate that. Christine for creating an outline. And, we are closing out the month and we're preparing to go to conference. We will come back to you with news if you can't come. If you can't come this time, watch for the time when you can come. We want you to be with us, of course. And till then, I think being on these Avini Vibes calls, you're seeing it grow. I saw this when you guys invited me to this once, and I just kept coming every time because I saw what was going to happen here, and it is happening. And so, blessings on all of you. And the next time we talk, we'll have a new product. We'll have all kinds of new experiences, and I guess too bad we don't go on for another hour. I'd like to hear what Christine heard yesterday with Rik, but oh well. Sometime. We'll get it out of her. We'll get it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Chip, Dr. Nakita, Dr. Carol, all of you guests. Remember, I want to close with this. You know what you've heard tonight, and we didn't rehearse this. Jen said, I don't even have to say it because she said what you heard tonight was real. It's life-saving, life-changing, and it only can be found here with Avini and with you. So please get with the person who invited or get with the person who's been on your mind and share. So God bless and good night, each of you. And I'll see you in 2 weeks, okay?
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Really real.